Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We are going to be talking about fertility, hormones, and healing today. My name is Dr. Chelsea Moe. I am a specialist in helping you grow healthy and happy families. I am at Tree of Life Chiropractic in the North Winton Village of Rochester. And I have with me today Brianna Cooper, who has become such a great friend and also a wonderful business partner. And she is our nutrition guru who's going to be joining us today. I'll have her introduce herself here too.
Hi guys, my name is Brianna Cooper. I am a functional nutritional therapy practitioner. So all that to say, I'm basically a holistic nutrition on the functional side of medicine, really treating the person as a whole, learning where your imbalances are, and then how do we treat that with a food first and lifestyle first approach.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have been seeing Brianna for myself too, and it's been wonderful to help me get some balance in my body too. So we're going to get started and rolling into our talk. If you have any questions or comments, last time I did a video with Brianna, there were a lot of questions and comments, so please feel free to comment below and we will get to them. If we don't answer them during the talk, we'll get to them at the end too,
Yeah,
okay?
Sure.
So we wanted to do this talk because we know that it is something that isn't really talked about as much as fertility, and we know that most people have challenges with starting and growing a family. 1 in 6 couples have challenges, and so that's a lot of families that have unnecessary strife in their family. There's a lot of emotional stress around that. You've probably gone to every specialist, every testing, every functional person to make sure that things are functioning on both partners' side of things, and maybe it's just not happening for you. And I'm hoping that today's webinar will be some new approach as far as something different that you might not have necessarily thought about, and hopefully that will be the answer for your family to help you grow your healthy family. So what we want to talk about today is 3 components to starting a family or growing your family. And the first is nutrition. So I have the specialist here. I was going to talk about it, but she knows way more about it than I do. So I'm going to kind of ask her some questions, and as you guys are listening, if you have questions too, definitely feel free to chime in there.
Yeah, for sure.
So what would you say, Brianna, that you see a lot of as far as either deficiencies in the partner or, just basically the biggest deficiency you see around pregnancy or fertility?
Yeah, I'd say for women, it tends to be effects from being on hormonal birth control. So depending on if you've ever been on a hormonal birth control, no matter the avenue of that, but then also how long you've been on it. So if, a lot of us women have been on it since we were maybe 15, and then we try to start having a family around 30. So that's a good 15 years of being on a hormonal birth control, which shuts down your ovulation. It shuts down the communication between your female reproductive organs and your brain. Yeah. So that, it absolutely turns that off. So in order for us we can't really expect to, just flip that switch back on.
Right.
As soon as we get off the hormonal birth control. So, some deficiencies that causes, first of all, vitamin B. We get very deficient in vitamin B, the B vitamin, the B family. Magnesium is another one that we are all very deficient in, especially if we've been on birth control. And then things like zinc, that's another huge one too. And that is something that I also see in males. So when it comes to male, I would say zinc and magnesium are probably the 2 highest deficiencies. And zinc can have a really big component as far as fertility goes for both male and female.
Yeah, that's good. And how would you say that someone would know if they're deficient in those things?
Yeah, that's a hard one because it's going to look a little bit different for each person. Broadly speaking, magnesium is definitely one where if you're kind of struggling with like a chronic fatigue situation, if you get muscle cramps, especially at rest, if you're a tight person, so if you're seeing a chiropractor, because you have these tight muscles all the time, or if you get like foot cramps at rest, that's a big indicator. Magnesium works in cardiac muscle in our hearts, so if you do have like high blood pressure or like a heart condition, that can be indicative of magnesium deficiency.
Okay.
And then trouble sleeping for sure.
Yeah, we see that a lot in our pregnancy population too. And what would you say is, like we were talking before we got on here, how it takes time and repetition.
Yeah.
And I think that society and maybe in-laws or family put such pressure on us to, you know, or we put pressure on ourselves, especially as the female partner, to, you know, meet this timeline that we might have had for having kids or conceiving. What would you say it takes as far as like making changes in their diet and tweaking nutrition things that they might see changes?
Yeah, that's hard too. I mean, I would say at least a good couple months. It takes time, because if you think about it, you know, if you are depleted in a certain, let's say, couple of important components, you didn't get depleted overnight. So it takes time to replenish those stores that have been lost. So a good, you know, at least a good maybe 8 weeks, I usually say at minimum.
Yeah.
So that's why you do want to start prepping your body about 6 months before you even start trying for conception. So you want to make sure that your body's back into balance, so that when you start trying it, you know, it's pretty effortless.
Yeah, that's great. And what would you say as far as, is there any other like things that you often recommend for somebody who's trying to get pregnant and has been maybe struggling? Are there any other like lifestyle changes or foods to switch in or out that could help?
Yeah, so definitely you want to, both female and male, you do want to find out your food sensitivities. This is something that is a stress response in the body, no matter what that might be, whether it's from something common like a gluten or a dairy, or even uncommon things, maybe like eggs or nuts and things like that. You do want to find out your sensitivities, especially if it's a staple in your diet, so if you're consistently stressing your body each day with that. But in general, I would say especially for females, you want to make sure that your blood sugar is addressed and balanced. So blood sugar is directly related to hormone balance. So if your blood sugar is out of balance and your body is trying to stabilize that day in and day out, that is your body's first priority, first and foremost over everything else. So getting pregnant, like your body has to be safe enough to allow itself for reproduction, right? So if we're consistently in a state of stress, because our blood sugar is either too high or too low, your body perceives that as a physical threat to your survival. It's a physical emergency. So if that's the case, your body's not going to be like, hey, let's reproduce now. It has to be in a safe environment for that, you know, whole process to happen. So definitely balancing blood sugar for sure is probably the number one like lifestyle thing, especially on the female end, but both female and male.
Yeah, that's so good, because I mean, that plays into what we do and what we see a lot too with the stress response in your body. If your body is in that stressed out state, like she's saying, we call it the gas pedal in our office versus the brake pedal. So the brake pedal side of your nervous system is also known as your parasympathetic nervous system. That's where you're able to rest and digest and grow, repair. Your immune system functions through there. All that stuff functions in there. And so if you're in that opposite side of things over in the gas pedal, just like in your car, you can't be on both at the same time. So if you're stuck on that gas pedal stressed out state because of maybe your blood sugar, or because of maybe the stress you're putting on yourself emotionally, or your partner's putting on you, that can put you in that state where your progesterone receptors can't be interacted with, and that can maybe cause for miscarriages if you're somebody who can get pregnant but just can't keep them. So the progesterone can get affected with that. And also it can cause for your body to be disconnected in the nervous system. And that means where we come into play. The nervous system is the control, the Houston control for reproductive secretion. It's the Houston control for all of your hormones, and it goes to the nervous system in through your reproductive organs. And so if there's any disconnect between your brain and those areas, then it's going to cause for symptoms like either hormone production not as balanced as it should be, dysfunction in that area, endometriosis, things like that. Hey, that was another question. What about anybody with endometriosis or cysts or fibroids? I feel like those people often have a harder time getting pregnant. Do you have any nutrition tips for them?
Blood sugar.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, that is usually the leading cause of a cystic or PCOS or whatever it might be, it's usually blood sugar related. Because one, there's so many hidden sugars and stuff that we're eating, so we might not eat. It's not like we're eating a bag of Sour Patch Kids 3 times a day.
Right.
It's those hidden sugars we don't even realize how much sugar we're putting into our body, or carbohydrates, like the processed carbohydrates that then break down into sugar in our bodies. So we have to kind of understand how different foods work in our bodies. But blood sugar buildup is really cause for cystic formation and calcification of different things. So yeah, that's usually, again, you have to, like, every time you think hormone, like whatever something is hormonally caused, you have to pair that with blood sugar, because if your blood sugar gets too high or dips too low, your body pumps out stress hormones. That's exactly, like, it's a hormonal activity to balance blood sugar. So yeah, balancing your blood sugar, especially if you have PCOS or a condition is, similar to that, balancing blood sugar is huge for health and also fertility.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
I figured it all worked the same.
Yeah, yeah. Everything's connected.
Blood sugar is the answer for everything.
I know.
I'm realizing after working with you, I'm like, my blood sugar's off right now.
Yes.
Why am I craving a sweet right now? I need to eat more fats. Okay.
Yes. And like that's cool, because the more you learn about yourself, then it's not like all of a sudden the symptoms become less frustrating, and they become more of like a clue, like, oh, I'm understanding my body, instead of like, oh, why am I tired all the time? And you meet it with frustration, and that sends a stressor signal to your nervous system, and then that's a perpetuating symptom.
Yeah.
Rather than meeting it with like, okay, what is this symptom trying to tell me? Let me listen real quick. And then learning that about your body, you compare like, okay, I feel this. I know that when I feel this is what it means. So like, cool, now let's do something about it.
Yeah. It's empowering for sure to know exactly what to do for your body to give it the best environment it needs in order to thrive. And we see that at the office too with specializing in fertility, prenatal, postnatal, and kids is really, the parents will say, or the mom will say, like, I'm noticing so much that I am able to be kind of more aware of either my posture or like what I'm doing at work or how I'm nursing my baby that is affecting my body, and then I start to notice it in my neck or shoulders or back or wherever their pain point are, and how much it's all connected, everything we do in our life. And so just being aware of those things is half the battle, because then you can start to make little changes like, putting your head back on the headrest of your car seat instead of like this as we drive forward, and how much that can just take stress off the nervous system too, and help your body to heal and thrive at a higher level, so that whatever Brianna recommends for your body, it can take it in, it can assimilate it, it can process it faster and more efficiently too. And all of those things work super well in conjunction with each other, because the nervous system is controlling all the things that she's trying to regulate too. So they work so well together that way. Something else that I want to talk about too is that most people think about chiropractic for, aches or pains, like I was just talking about, as, most adults have some sort of ache or pain that brings us to a chiropractor, and that's really only 10% of the nervous system's job, is to tell us when we're in pain. The other 90% of the nervous system's job is to control all of those hormones, control all of our breathing, our heart, our respiratory tract. Everything is controlled through the nervous system, and most people don't necessarily realize that, and how much we can impact mood regulation and things like that beyond just aches or pains. And that's something we specialize in our office, is really honing in on the nervous system and less on the musculoskeletal complaints. Musculoskeletal complaints fall into place no problem, but the nervous system is key, is living inside of all of those structural pieces, and it's going to be affected no matter what we do or how we tweak or adjust things too.
Like root cause.
Exactly, yeah. Let me see if we have any questions before we get too much further here. If I can figure out how. Sorry, guys. I have no idea.
I know, you should just be able to scroll.
I don't know. I am sorry if you are messaging us.
Let me see. Maybe if we do that. Is there just, oh, there we go. Okay, so that's it.
Hi, Cheryl. Okay, no questions.
Perfect.
So, is there anything else that you can think of that people would want to know as far as growing a family that you think is really helpful, that people are like, it's a super easy or maybe complex missing link for growing a family?
Yeah, I mean, again, it is very individualized, so it's tough because it's like, not only, because there's two people involved, right? So anytime there's more than one person involved, it's a tough thing. So you have to be optimally, healthy and on the female side and also the male side. So it is a little bit of a bio-individual approach. But I think a lot of women, it is a stressful thing to think about starting a family and then like, okay, now I am pregnant and now I'm going to deliver this baby to term and now what? Now how do I eat? Like how do I feed myself, right? Like I'm exhausted, I'm working on breastfeeding, I'm in fight or flight all day long because I'm not sleeping. So now how do I feed myself and my family, and then when to start introducing foods for their little one and things like that. So it's a process. It's a very well-rounded, topic. I actually am doing a live later this week on my Instagram with a nutritionist who does her expertise is in fertility and being a mom and nutrition around that whole aspect.
Cool.
So we'll be chatting about that. But I do think, some baseline things to consider, like we talked about, definitely your blood sugar balance, making sure that you're digesting your food, is a huge staple foundational thing. And then making sure you're pretty balanced in minerals. That's really a hard thing that we are very much depleted in minerals because our soil is, not the best right now. So it's hard to we could be eating the world's perfect diet, but still not being mineral efficient just because we're not getting it through our foods. So really working on mineral status as well, making sure that you're good in your calcium and your magnesium specifically. We're all very magnesium deficient, and making sure that we're getting our macro and micronutrients up and preparing for that pregnancy phase.
Yeah, that's good. How would you say for them to check for a good magnesium? Because I think a lot of people maybe take magnesium or they maybe take a multivitamin that has it in it. Tell them about the difference between the two.
Yeah, so there's a couple different kinds of magnesium. So depending on what your goal is, I like magnesium chloride. That's kind of just for a general, just upping your magnesium content. There's other things for things like constipation, or if you have a very specific goal of what you want to take magnesium for. But as far as just helping to replenish your poor stores of magnesium, I do like a magnesium chloride. I actually there's a liquid form of the magnesium that I really like. The product is called Remag, and it's part of RNA Reset is the website. So if you guys are interested, I actually have a link that I can send you guys, or I can send to you if you want to send that out to purchase it. But it's 100% absorbable. So that's the tough part about supplements in general, because one, it's hard to find a good quality supplement without additives and chemicals and sugar in there, really. So in order to just find a good supplement, but then two, it does take, so if you do have a little bit more of a sluggish digestion, pills have to pass through your digestive tract to be broken down in order for that substance to be absorbed. So if you take it in a liquid form, it kind of bypasses the digestive system and it can be absorbed in the cellular level, which is why I like this specific kind. And it's really, when it comes to minerals, our bodies can't really absorb things at once. So if you're taking a multi with a whole host of things in there, you're probably absorbing maybe 10 to 20% of that. So you have to look at, okay, how much is on the label, how much is that in this multivitamin, and then, I'm probably only getting 1 or 2 of maybe, 50 milligrams or whatever that may be. So that's tough. So our receptors, as far as minerals go, they are only able to handle so much at a time. So I like the liquid, because I prescribe that you are slowly drinking it throughout the day versus dousing your receptors one at a time, and then you're just kind of peeing the rest of it out and kind of wasting your money that way. So yeah, there's a lot of tricks of the trade when it comes to supplementation, but I'm happy to talk with anybody about that.
Cool. Thanks. And I want to just wrap up things with we would love to help your families together, whether you're trying to start a family or grow a family and have been struggling. Our office sees a ton of fertility families, and we would love for yours to be one of them. Our website is treeofliferock.com, and you can request an appointment up at the top. And if you put in the comments that you saw our fertility webinar, you will get $100 off your initial visit. And that will be a $50 new patient exam versus $150, so definitely take advantage of that. And tell them where they can reach you and ask more questions about that.
Yeah, so my business name is Arise to Wellness, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You guys can absolutely go to my website as well, so it's just arisetowellness.com. And there I do 30-minute like free phone consultations if you just want to say, hey, like, what are you about? What's it really like to work with you? You know, would we work well together? Can you help me with this certain issue? I'm happy to have a phone chat with you and just kind of see if we'd work well together. And then too, if you want to mention this webinar, I'm happy to offer you guys a 20% off your first initial visit with me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. And then also tell them about how they can find that fertility webinar you're doing later this week.
Yes, it'll be Thursday. That'll be on my Instagram, so it'll be an Instagram live
Okay.
with my friend Lauren. So yeah, it's Arise to Wellness is my Instagram. So if you follow me on there, I'm gonna do it around 1 o'clock, I believe, on Thursday, but it'll be saved to my feed, so you guys will be able to watch replays if you can't watch it live.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. We're excited. I know that these families need more and more resources. It
Totally.
does take a village, and it takes patience, and it takes perseverance, and it
Yes.
takes grace upon yourself.
Yes.
Because there's so much pressure put on our families, whether it be from themselves or from their own families or society. So check that out. I'm sure it will be chock full of great nuggets. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we
Yes.
can't wait to chat more with you. I hope you are blessed and got lots of good info out of today.
Thanks, guys.